Hey guys, welcome back to Furniture Flippin' Teacher. It's Lauren here. Today I wanted to take a minute and do something a little bit different than we've had on our channel here before. So a goal of my channel is not only to be entertaining to my viewers, but also to provide some tips and tricks if you want to start on the furniture flipping route. It is a super fun thing, so I wanted to take a moment today on getting started. So the first tip that I would say is to start out small. You don't need a whole bunch of materials to start on your first piece. The first thing that I want to talk about is supplies. The supplies that you are going to need to get started furniture flipping are very minimal. A lot of them you might even have laying around your house already. The first thing that I would recommend that you have is some screwdrivers. So you want to have a Phillips head and a flathead screwdriver. These are for taking hardware off and putting it back on. If you have a drill, all the more better, but two plain old screwdrivers will do the job as well. The second thing that I think is very important to have if you're going to be painting furniture is to go ahead and get you some paint. Now there's tons of different options with paint, but I would say start basic. There's no reason to be spending over $20 a can if you're just getting started and you're not sure if you really want to keep doing this for long term. When I started out with chalk paint from Rustoleum. I really stuck with the white color because I knew that that was an in style all around the country and especially here in my hometown. So I mostly used the white, but I also sometimes ventured out to some grays, dark gray and light gray, but really just stayed pretty neutral. Along with the chalk paint, I used the top coat, which I preach in my videos. The top coat is just not questionable. It has to be put on here. So Rustoleum chalk paint has a specific top coat. It's a matte clear, which means that it's gonna not have any gloss to the finish, so that goes along really nicely with the chalk paint. Now some people don't really care for chalk paint, so in that case, if you're just starting out, I would highly recommend just going to the store and getting a huge gallon of paint. Now I didn't do this again because I started with the chalk paint, but I know other people that have done this. This whole gallon costs just as much, if not less, than the chalk paint. So if you want to start out and you know that you're going to start doing this for a while, go ahead and get the gallon. But again, make sure that color is neutral. This is just satin paint that you might put on your wall. This already has primer in it, so that is an option as well. Super cheap option, but it still holds up really well as long as you put that top coat on it. If you are going to go away from the chalk paint, which is totally fine, you need to make sure that you invest in a primer as well. Primer about $8 for a can about this size. A little bit goes a long way. The primer is for two things. One thing is to make sure that the paint is sticking to the piece of furniture, and the other reason is so that the color of the furniture, especially if it's wood, the stain doesn't come through the paint when you apply the paint. So that kind of is a stain blocker. Then if you want to get fancy, once you've got it rolling, you can look into some other paints. Like right now I've been using the Chippy Amulet Decor furniture paint. This is a bit more expensive, so again, recommending that you start cheaper before you move on to the more expensive paint. The next thing that you're going to need, obviously, to paint is paint brushes. There's so many different types of paint brushes at the store. You go there and you're like, what in the world do I get? It really truly doesn't matter. Get what will be comfortable for you. You might even have a paintbrush laying around your house in your garage. Just go grab it. You don't have to buy new paintbrushes every time. That's a preference that I like to do, just because it's one thing that I kind of like to spoil myself with is new paintbrushes. But they have ones with smaller handles. They have one with bigger handles. This paintbrush was like $5 something. This paintbrush was like to something. So they have different types of paintbrushes. It truly doesn't matter. You just need to pay attention, and if the bristles come out when you're painting, that's fine. Just make sure that the paint doesn't dry with the bristle in it. The other thing, 40 cents, 50 cents maybe, is a paint can opener. Highly recommend getting that. If you don't get one of those, that's fine too. Just pop your paint can open with a screwdriver. The last thing that I think is one of the most important things for a piece, especially if you're not gonna go the chalk paint route, is to invest in a hand sander, an electric hand sander. It's going to be a lifesaver because the paint sticks better when you sand the piece down. So on some things, I never sanded because I was using the chalk paint, because chalk paint is known for just being able to go on without being sanded. If you're gonna use the regular paint, you wanna go ahead and get a power sander. Can do the square, can do the orbital, can do the detail sander, doesn't matter as long as you get that sander. And I will link it down below for all of these supplies and materials that I've used or that I've used in the past. So these are all the supplies that I might recommend you invest in if you're just getting started. There's different levels of supplies that you could get. You could invest in some cheaper paint just to start out, but if you get more and more into the furniture painting like I have, you can invest more and more in the more expensive things. It just depends on what kind of route you are wanting to go. So the last thing that I want to talk about is choosing your furniture that you are going to flip. The most important thing is to start small. Don't go looking for a huge dresser because you think that it's going to bring in the most money. You need experience before you begin to flip the furniture. So I recommend starting with something like a nightstand or a pair of end tables. Pairs often sell better than just singles, by the way. So starting with something very small that you can test out your tools and your supplies, make sure that you're not putting things to waste. Your first flip might be a flop, and that's fine. That's why you're trying to start small. Now, when starting small, make sure that you utilize all areas that you can get the furniture from. I recommend looking for things probably $10 or under for your first flip. I got my first piece for $10 at Goodwill. It was a little bigger than an end table or a nightstand, but it still worked out. It was smaller than a dresser. It was just a little cabinet, and it worked out great. I would recommend looking at places like thrift stores, Goodwills, Marketplace, and even the side of the road. So many people are getting rid of things for free these days by just putting them on the curb or putting them on Marketplace for free. I have a nightstand in my garage currently that I just got for free. I didn't even really want a single nightstand, but it was free, so why the heck not? Free things are everywhere. Start free or start cheap, start small. Telling people that you know that you're looking for a piece of furniture, that is how you are going to get things for cheap and to just start out your new hobby or your new side hustle. So to wrap it up today, I just want to remind you that this is not rocket science. Anybody can flip furniture. All you need is a paintbrush, a screwdriver, and some paint, and of course a piece of furniture to get started, and you can be on your way to earning some extra income, a little side hustle, a little date night money, anything that you are wanting to earn some extra money for, you can turn it into by just flipping some furniture. I hope you guys enjoyed how I got started in furniture flipping. It's been a really fun and awesome journey filled with lots of learning, even some mistakes, but who doesn't make mistakes? I've gotten to make some good money on the side and tackling that student loan debt. If you have any questions about getting started, leave them in the comments below. Go ahead and get yourself subscribed to my channel because I often am giving tips and tricks about my furniture flipping journey. Make sure that you like this video as well. We'll see you on Monday for our next video, and we will see you on the flip side.